o'clock on a Tuesday morning. It is June the 3rd, and this is Tracking the Tropics from sunny-ish Central Florida. I'm WESH 2 meteorologist Eric Burris.
And in Savannah, Georgia, I'm WJCL 22 Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Nelson.
So, Jeremy, it's our first Tracking the Tropics of hurricane season 2025. The good news is that there are no hurricanes to track, but there are a couple of areas, I guess, that we're going to need to be watching right now.
Yeah, what we made it 2 days into the season, and then we already have an area of interest pop up. It was pretty rainy down in Central and South Florida yesterday. That moved over to the Bahamas, and that's just kind of meandering down there, just sort of a big, unorganized trough of low pressure.
That's right. So at the moment we're watching it, the National Hurricane Center has highlighted it as having a 10% chance of development, essentially as it lifts up the east coast of the Florida Peninsula and kind of hangs out just off of your coastline there in the low country of South Carolina and coastal Georgia there, Jeremy.
Yeah, and I would say for us, we will see some impacts. Don't think like tropical storm, really, hurricane, anything like that. We're likely just looking at increased chances of rain, some tropical downpours, maybe a little bit breezy, some wind gusts 20, 25 miles per hour. Overall, you wouldn't really notice the difference unless we showed you on a map between this and just a day where we have some thunderstorms.
Right, right. And that's good, right? At the end of the day, and I don't know if your area is the same way, but my area is in a pretty decent drought. At least some of our communities, like 4 or 5 inches behind. The Orlando Metro is very close to average, but rainfall is something this time of year we absolutely need.
Yeah, I mean, we went into April with abnormally dry to moderate drought conditions, and then we had the second driest April all time. Well, we kind of flipped that around in May, where we had the third wettest with over 10 inches. So we've erased our drought here. We don't want to go back into one, but we don't want to get all of a sudden too wet heading into peak hurricane season, August through the early part of October, because during that time frame, obviously we can get some huge rains in our area.
Absolutely. So let's do this. Let's dial up the raw computer model data and just kind of get an idea. All right. So first thing that I'm noticing is broad low pressure kind of hanging out in the Gulf, which may fit our long range weather patterns.
Yes, we were talking about as we went into sort of early mid June, maybe a little more activity or at least some low pressure areas. It's tough to get some of these storms developing this early in the season, but obviously we have that little disturbance near the southeast coast, and then our favorite fantasy hurricane model, the GFS, has just been really every single run trying to put something Caribbean to Gulf and it seems like the closer it gets, it pushes it back, it
Yeah.
moves it.
Yep.
So the European model has said, no, not buying that for the moment. Or the Europeans like whatever disturbance it is in the Western Caribbean ends up heading to the Eastern Pacific.
Right. Well, and I'm showing the European right now, and you've got something in the Eastern Pacific, but you don't have anything in the Atlantic. And looking at the ensembles, Jeremy, it was kind of the same idea where you end up with the GFS making its what do we call what did we call it last year? It was a fake cane? Is that what we kept calling it?
Yeah, anything fantasy, Kane. It's just it shows up all the time, and it's
Right.
a for us. We know that what the bias is of the model, but a lot of times people are just posting crazy images on social media.
Right.
Does it get a lot of clicks and views? Absolutely. Is it based in reality? No, not really.
Well, and isn't that just such a frustrating thing, man? Like what we have to deal with is such an element of communication because computer models are guidance, not gospel. And so it's just so important for, the National Hurricane Center has to battle this. As broadcast meteorologists, we have to battle this. And so how do we go about stopping that? I think this is one of those, the genie's out of the bottle and we just kind of have to do our best for messaging. And I think platforms like this, where it's an interactive venue, at least can help get the right word out.
Yes, I think that's a good thing when people can actually talk, have a discussion about this,
Right,
and not just see one really scary looking image, and
right.
then that's in your mind that, okay, maybe a week or 10 days down the road, this will happen. Now, all computer models, whether it's the European, the GFS, Canadian, NAM,
Right.
anything in between, they're going to be wrong at some point.
Sure.
So Maybe the GFS, not necessarily the final solution, but it is latching on to maybe there's some sort of weak low that ends
Right,
up forming,
right,
and then we'd have to watch that. But look what we have right now. I would say a week or 10 days ago, the GFS was trying to move something stronger into Florida. Well,
right.
now here we are, and we're just looking at maybe a weak low.
Well, and look at the model comparison. So you've got the European model on the left side, you've got the American GFS on the right. They're both very, very wet. This is Tuesday evening. Widespread showers, okay? Watch that low. And it's interesting, both models look almost identical. This is tomorrow morning. Widely spread showers across my area up to your area. And then it almost looks like it's wanting to develop an area of low pressure off of your coastline, Georgia, South Carolina there. That's Wednesday evening into Thursday and then eventually pulling it out. So at least the models are somewhat finding something here. Now, what does that end up playing into? We'll have to wait and see.
Right. And I would say that the closer we get in within like 48 hours, 60 hours,
Right.
72 hours, then the GFS does have some more realistic solutions. It's more usable. And there wasn't a huge difference there when you were showing the European versus the GFS. It's just when you get in those long range 7, 10 plus days where we start to see huge differences in errors develop.
Right, right. And that's the way that it goes. And it's also important to remember a couple of things. The American GFS model has a vorticity bias, so it really does want to spin these things. So it's
Hmm.
important to note the European, which doesn't seemingly have that vorticity bias, is not spinning something up. So that's important to note. The other thing
Yeah.
is the GFS keeps kicking that can down the curve just a little bit. So as long as it keeps doing that, understand it keeps putting it off and putting it off. That's what I do with bad news in my life. So, it's like the GFS is just trying to react accordingly. So, as Amy says, I have real bad anxiety about storms, which is why I watch. That's why we do this, Amy. But the good news is at this moment in time, we just don't have that.
Right. And yeah, we're not trying to get anyone worried. We're just letting you know, hey, there's probably going to be increased rain chances coming out. Maybe you get a day that's a little bit breezy here. And maybe for your area, it's more rain now or into Wednesday. And then for my area, it's mainly tomorrow and Thursday. So this is going to be kind of quick moving. And again, if you didn't even have a map where we were showing you an area of interest or something to watch, you'd probably be like, hey, it's just a normal summer day where we have
Right.
some showers and thunderstorms.
Right. Oh, yeah, 100%. So there we are, 10% chance of development for this area. Basically, it's an old front that's backing up to the north, bringing all kinds of rain. Nothing significant, which is the good news. But yes, a 10% opportunity for some tropical characteristics to develop off the first coast of Florida, the coastal Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, as it kind of works its way back out. But I think that it's always a good reminder that hurricane season is here. And as is such, Jeremy, we're going to have to be watching, which leads me to the final thought, which is Tuesdays, 10 a.m. during hurricane season, Jeremy and I join forces.
We will be here through the whole thing, whether it's June and there's nothing going on. Maybe we'll just talk long range forecast if that's the case, or we get into the back half of the hurricane season and it's winding down. We'll still be here in November. So, all points in between. And last year, hey, we were here extra, working a little extra overtime when we had all those storms, Debbie. We had Helene, we had Milton, and those were all eastern half of the Gulf storms that
Yeah,
impacted Florida, my area. So, if that's the case again this year, we'll be here extra if needed.
we will. All right, very good. You have anything else to add, my friend?
No, if that thing by chance, the 10% chance would play out, we get a little quick spin up. That's Andrea. That's the first name storm
Yeah,
this year.
yeah,
But at this point, it looks like that chance is pretty low.
yeah. I'm good with it. I'm good with it. All right. From sunny Central Florida, I'm West 2 meteorologist Eric Burris.
And in Savannah, Georgia, I'm WJCL 22 Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Nelson.
See you next week, guys.